If you're an international student studying here in Poland, this video is for you. Let's talk about something that is absolutely essential for your legal stay here. I'm talking about the temporary residence card, otherwise known as the TRC. For today's video, we're going to be primarily focusing on the study purpose, that is applying for TRC as a student in Poland. But hey, if studying is not the main reason for being here, maybe you're working, running a business, or reuniting with a family, don't worry, I've got you covered. I'll be making a separate detailed video on the other purposes of stay and how to apply for TRC under each one. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and stay tuned. That way you won't miss it when the video drops. I've added the different timelines of this video in the description section so that you can skip to the part that is most important to you. And with that said, grab yourself a cup of coffee or your notepad because you definitely be needing that for all the information that I'll be giving you in this video. And let's get right into it. Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Gigi or Stella, and I love to talk about everything from study and productivity to lifestyle and travel. If that sounds like your vibe, click on the subscribe button and join the family. Let's dive in. Now, let's start from the very beginning, especially with definitions. What is the temporary residence card and why is it super important? The temporary residency card allows non EU citizens to stay in Poland for longer than 3 months, typically up to the length of their studies. It replaces your visa after you arrive and is valid for the duration of your enrollment, usually up to 15 months, but it depends typically on the length of your program. With a TRC, you can stay legally in Poland without needing a visa renewal, travel to other Schengen countries for short trips, and also access essential services like banking, rentals, as well as part-time jobs. Now, as opposed to other countries where you would need a separate right to work document, your TRC plays the role of both being a legal stay document and also your access to the labor market. What this means in simple terms is that you typically need a TRC in order to stay in Poland legally as well as access the job market. Without the TRC, you won't be hired. But most importantly, without it, and once your visa expires, you're staying illegally in Poland, even if your studies continue, and you face a high risk of deportation. Before you even start applying for your TRC, you need to understand something very important: your basis of stay. Now, what exactly does basis of stay even mean? It's simply the legal reason why you're applying for a residence permit. In other words, the main reason why you're staying in Poland. Everything about your TRC, your documents, application form, and even how your case is going to be assessed is dependent on this. So let's quickly break down the most common basis of stay for foreigners in Poland. Top of my list, study purpose. This one applies if you're a full time student at a Polish university or a higher education institution. Basically, your reason for stay is your studies. Two, work purpose. If you're legally employed in Poland, whether with a work permit, a statement of employment, or a job contract, that is your basis of stay. Three, family reunification. If you're joining a family member who's already a legal resident in Poland, such as your spouse, parent, or a child, then your basis of stay would typically be family reunification. Four, business activity. If you own or co-own a registered business in Poland and it's active or meets the income requirement, then your stay is based on business. Five, marriage to a Polish citizen. This is straightforward. If you're legally married to a Polish citizen and living together in Poland, then that is your basis for stay. Six, scientific research or PhD studies. This one applies to researchers or doctoral students who are conducting research in Poland or currently teaching. Seven, humanitarian or special purposes. This one is less common but also important. It only applies to people who are under protection or special circumstances. For example, victims of human trafficking or humanitarian stay. Last but not the least, long-term EU resident status. This one applies if you've been living legally and continuously in Poland for at least 5 years. You can apply for this status and it gives you a stronger right to work and live in the EU. Now, here's a question that I get a lot. What if I'm a student and I also have a job? Which one should be my basis of stay? Now, that's a really good question. And the answer to that is actually simpler than most people think. Even if you have more than one reason for stay in Poland, maybe you're studying and also working, you can only choose one main purpose of stay at the time of the application. Your TRC must always be based on your primary reason for being in Poland at the time of your application. Now, let's make it practical. If you came to Poland mainly to study and you work part time just to support yourself, then your main basis for staying in Poland is your studies. You should apply for a student TRC. And yes, you can still legally work while studying. You don't need a separate work permit for that. But if you've already finished your degree and now you work a full time, then your main basis has changed. It is now your job. So in that case, you can now apply for a work TRC. Or maybe you're the opposite. You came to Poland to work, but then decided to take evening or part-time classes. In that case, your main purpose of stay is your work, not studies. The bottom line is no matter how many things you're doing in Poland, you must pick one basis of stay that matches your main purpose for being here. And remember, if your situation changes, you can always apply for a new TRC under your new basis of stay. Now, let's go over the step by step process of applying for a student TRC. The first step is to prepare your documents. You'll need the following: number one, a completed application form, four biometric photos, copy of your passport, all pages with stamps and visas, a proof of enrollment, that is a current letter from your university that confirms that you're a full time student, proof of health insurance, it could be public or private as long as it's valid in Poland and covers your period of stay, a proof of accommodation, which is usually a confirmation letter from your dormitory or from the apartment that you're renting. And last but not the least, proof of payment, which is 340 Polish zloty, and then later on in the future, 50 zloty for the card itself. Now, here's where it gets tricky, at least for many students. Proof of funds. When it comes to proof of sufficient financial resources, according to the Voidership Office as of 2025, you need to be able to show that you have enough money to cover the following: A, your living expenses, tuition fee, housing costs, and your return travel costs to your home country. But let's break it down more clearly. For a single student, you must show one, at least 1,010 Polish zloty per month for your living expenses, plus your housing costs per month, plus your tuition fees, and in addition to that, funds for return travel. Now, the return travel cost differs depending on where the individual is coming from. If you're from a country that borders Poland, for example, the return travel is 200 Polish zloty. If you come from an EU country, then that will be 500 Polish zloty. On the other hand, if you come from a country that is outside of the EU, so we're talking non-EU countries, then the return travel cost will be up to 2,500 Polish zloty. However, if you already have a return ticket, you don't need to show this extra travel money. Now, when it comes to those supporting family members, it's slightly different. You need to show at least 823 Polish zloty per month for each family members, including yourself, plus the same tuition fees, travel costs, and housing requirements as mentioned before. Now, let's make it practical, but for a single student. So let's say you're here for one academic year, say maybe 10 months. You need to have at least 10 times 1,010 Polish zloty per month for your base living expenses. That's roughly 10,100 Polish zloty, yeah? On top of that, you need to show housing costs per month, the tuition fees, plus your return travel ticket home. This means your bank statements need to realistically show a couple thousand zlotys more than your base living estimates. Now, let's not get confused regarding the kinds of documents that you can submit as proof of fund. Here's what Polish offices will accept as a valid proof. Coming first and the most common, a certificate from a Polish or an EU bank confirming your bank account balance, typically issued within 1 month of your application. Other documents include a document confirming a scholarship, whether Polish or international, for people who are on scholarship, a certificate of employment or salary if you or your sponsor work, a credit card certificate from your bank that shows your credit limits, and last but not the least, a traveler's check. Yes, it's still accepted in Poland. Now, each of these documents that I mentioned should not be dated earlier than 1 month before your TRC submission. Anything outside of the 1 month horizon could lead to a rejection. You can find more information regarding the kinds of documents that you can submit for valid proof of funds in the link that I'm going to be linking in the description box. Step 2, booking and submitting your application. Book an appointment or mail your documents to your local voidership office. Major cities like Wrocław, Krakow, Gdansk, and Poznan allow for mail submission, but always check your specific office's website. A pro tip: don't wait till the last minute. Usually around September to December, appointment slots are fully booked, so make sure that you book early. Step 3, biometric and decision waiting time. After submitting your application, you'll be called in to give your fingerprint, which is your biometric data. You'll receive a stamp in your passport, which keeps your stay legal even if your visa expires while you're waiting. But also note that the stamp on your passport does not allow you to travel, even outside the Schengen countries. Legally, decisions should take about 60 days, but in reality, it takes up to 3 to 6 months, depending on your region, which is why you should definitely apply early so as not to have very delayed waiting period. Just make sure to keep copies of everything and follow up politely if it is delayed. Now, to the most tricky part, especially for people who are continuing studies but have to renew their TRC. If your TRC is expiring but your education is still continuing, make sure to apply for a renewal before the last day your card is valid. Let me stress it again. Make sure to apply before the last day of your validity. Ideally, I would even recommend you apply 45 to 60 days before the end of your validity. But it is super, super important to apply before the last day of your valid TRC card. Update your documents, get a fresh enrollment confirmation, bank statement, health insurance, the entire work. But again, you cannot be late. If your TRC expires and you haven't applied, you can face deportation and even risk future visa rejections. Common pitfalls and how to avoid them. Number one, missing deadlines. I already stressed this enough, so I'm not going to go over it again. The system will usually get clogged around September to December, so make sure to apply early. Put it in a calendar or something to remind you to put in the application. Number two, insufficient funds. Some students are borrowing money temporarily for screenshots, but embassies are beginning to catch on, so please make sure to use genuine bank statements. Three, incorrect health insurance. Your insurance must cover costs in Poland, not just travels. So make sure to check if it includes emergency treatments and hospitalization. Number four, fake accommodation letters. Avoid shortcuts. The embassy verifies addresses, so if your proof of residence is fake or unverifiable, your TRC may be denied. Number five, not speaking Polish at the office. Most forms are in Polish, so try to bring a friend who speaks Polish or even hire a translator if need be, just so that you can avoid misunderstandings, which could in fact lead to the delay in the process. I know the TRC process can seem intimidating, but if you organize your paperwork, calculate your proof of fund correctly, and apply early, you should be fine. Remember, it's your security. It keeps you legal, confident, and focused on your studies. If you found this guide helpful, leave a comment with where you're studying currently in Poland. Like and share to a friend who is currently in the process of a TRC or simply someone who just recently came into the country. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because in the next video, we'll cover what TRC for foreigners, how to apply, renew, and what to avoid. I'll leave you as always. Remember where you're coming from, remember where you are, and remember where you're going. Until the next episode, it's all shades of love.